I do this shit for y'all. You hear it in the hook. Real nigga in your face, bitch nigga. Look, it's the real nigga that a bitch nigga took.
Oh man, what's going on, everybody? So this is when I wanted to do a little live on this. Gangs, at what age should there be a retirement plan? Because at what age do you become a liability instead of beneficial to a gang? Nick, what's going on? Nice to have you in here. Yeah, so I was sitting back thinking, I'm like, damn, people didn't think very far into the future when they started coming up with rules and shit like that to gang life. At what age are you no longer useful to them, but become a liability? Personally, I don't think that people thought that far into the future. They were more worried about right this minute instead of looking at the bigger picture of things. So what do they then do with all these dudes once they hit a point where they're no longer beneficial to them? Are they then be all deemed no good? Are they then be all considered dropouts because they can no longer put in work for the gang that they're from? Are they going to be thrown under the bus? Who's going to take care of these people when they're no longer able to put in work? There's no 401k. There's no retirement plan. There's no medical, dental provided by gang life. So at what age should people think that they should be able to move on in life and try to salvage what little bit of life they have left to be able to provide for themselves in their elderly years? Personally, I think I don't know, because I was looking on the Social Security app, and it basically was saying by 67 you can retire, but really, who's out there in the streets putting in work till they're 67 years old? Who's going to be wiping these dudes' asses when they can no longer do it themselves and they don't have any income coming in from the government to help them at that age? Then send little youngsters that are just being brought into the gangs over there. Hey, here you go. Go take care of this dude for a little while. He needs his ass wiped. I don't think so. But like I said, people didn't think that far into the future. They were more worried about the right now and how they can benefit, how it makes it beneficial to themselves. Because in the long run, what do you accomplish by all this work that you're putting in, or whatever gang you're from, or whatever group you're from? What do you truly get out of it besides ending up locked up, or how a lot of people are, their ending is dead? How many do you see that's old and actually still functioning like that? Are they scared to come out of their house because they know they couldn't put in work no more? Are people going by helping them out, seeing if they need help with anything? Because I know a lot of people, and once even when you get locked up, your homies on the streets, they forget about you. It ends up coming down to relying on your family, or hoping that you got hustle in there, or relying on your homies in there. And then how long does that go on for? Eventually your homies will then get tired of doing handouts, handing you shit. Jamie Jen James. What type of name is that? He said, or it said, check this out. You got a skinhead who bumps gangster rap sprung on a Chicana. Help me make that make sense. I don't know. What's that even have to do with what I'm talking about right now? But anyways, so yeah, I was just wondering what people thought. Like, what do you think happens to these people when they're no longer useful? Then send people like Jim Jones over there to wipe their ass, help them clean up their yard and shit like that. Digger, what's good? How you doing tonight? Powered by the culture. So the culture can be bumped by everyone. Yeah, I'm not I listen to all sorts of music. I'm not limited to just one type of music. People like that are have little minds. Nick said, "Are they not dropouts?" Ooh, I don't know. Are they? So would somebody once they've been putting in work their whole life out on the streets, and they finally get to the age where they're not able to go put work in anymore? Did they really drop out, or did they just get too old? Or should they be able to finally be able to salvage what little bit of life they have left so they can try to take care of themselves when nobody else is fucking is wanting to take care of them? He said, gangs ruined my life, bro. I hate that BS now. Yeah, it ruined a lot of people's lives. And what's sad about it is it's not really the dropouts whose lives it ruined. It ruined their family members' lives. Ruined their family members' lives and shit. Nick said, I'm not sure. It's a good question. Yeah, because would it be, I don't know how you would really answer that one. And it's a topic that I never seen really anybody else discuss. Because if you think about it, they never figured that their members of them live long enough to be able to hit a point like that in their life. They never thought about, damn, what are we going to do with this whole generation now that we don't need no more because we got these youngsters in there putting in work, and these dudes are just getting in the way. Because the youngsters at this point, they don't even like to listen to the advice of the older ones, the older homies and shit. They think they can do whatever they want out here, and then when they hit the pin, everybody's putting on freeze. Hold on, let me turn this shit off real quick.
Power off.
Turn this one off too. I was trying to fucking hook everything up Bluetooth so I didn't have to have wires ran no more. Make it easier for myself. But yeah, because I met a lot of old people in Penn that had been putting in work, and their boys, they didn't go by and check them out or nothing. They didn't go see how they were doing. They had their own little circle of, it would be like fucking a table full, and they'd be all sitting there playing cards, but none of the youngsters went by checking on them and shit. Nobody went by to see if they needed anything. I went to prison for 28 years, bro, for killing my op. I ended up being cellies with his homies. Shit just makes no sense. Yeah, it don't. It don't make no sense. What I've never understood is like how you put in all that work and all that time, and what do you gain out of it personally? A reputation, and then as soon as you decide that you're ready to move on because you finally realize that you wasted so much of your life that you end up being deemed no good, or you're gonna put it on a list so that you can be targeted. So what did what did that murder end up fucking how did it benefit you in the end? In all reality, be watching some of these dudes and they be trying to like glorify the gang shit that they did, but how you glorifying all this gang shit that you like, you work you put in and all this shit, but it's those same people who you're once part of that wanted to gun you down. It's just crazy. What do then what's gonna happen to these dudes when they hit 55, 60 years old? These ones that are out here pushing hard. Powered by the culture said, I think gangs itself is an immature way of thinking. Everyone comes around when we get older. The messed up part is former gang members are the ones who pay the price one way or another. Yeah, I think what it was, like the big thing with gangs was it was people like youngsters that didn't have father figures in their lives and were looking for that feeling. And needed some stability in their life and structure, and that's what they turned to. When, yeah, it's sad. It's a mistake for a lot of people, but I'm not going to want to sit here and tell people like, oh, you should drop out, this and that. Like, nah, because there's repercussions to all your actions. And best advice I could give on that would be, don't even join any shit like that in the first place. Like our kids, I try to keep like jet skis, dirt bikes, shit like that, just so I could keep our son away from that type of life. Because in all honesty, like, you're supposed to want your kids to do better than what you did in life. And I know what joining a group fucking did to me, and all the prison time I did for it, and shit, what do you benefit out of it? Nothing. So why would I want to see our son go down that fucking road or that path? So I try to keep everything I can that fucking, I know, keep him from wanting to go run the streets. Or he wants to go in boxing, so we then put him in boxing now. But it's like anything that could give him some sort of like structure in his life that makes him want to better himself and keep him off the streets, I'm all for it. Sooner 6808 said, tapped in. Nice to have you here. Yeah, but I've even been watching some of these little documentary things on different gangs throughout like California and everywhere, and you'll see these dudes, and like the main ones that made the name for it, what age are they now? They're getting up to the point where they're starting to become liabilities themselves. And what I noticed is it doesn't matter how much work you put in or how much of a name you make for yourself. Like, once you're out of the like main focus of the light, where everything's happening, people start forgetting about that work that you put in. So unless you're out there doing shit every single day or every week and staying caught up in the mix, people are then slowly start forgetting about that work that you put in, and it became worthless. Like, what did you do it for? Tigger said, keep them busy. Yeah, definitely. Really anything like my daughters, I don't got to really worry about too much. My oldest son, I didn't really have to worry about him too much because my sister raised him when I was locked up, and my sister was good at keeping him away from that shit. And then when he graduated high school, he got hired on straight with Tesla and became a supervisor. Now my oldest son, his mom was in the gang life from Oakland, and he ended up caught up in it too. So I just recently like reconnected with him. I seen him one time when he was like a month old, and then I never seen him again until shit just last year, and because his mom was a blood, and then that's the same way he ended up going. But he was asking me questions too, like, "Hey, pops, what would happen if I went to prison out here?" I said, "Man, it wouldn't be a good situation for you because you're running with the wrong car for being white." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I told him, he's like, "Damn, I didn't even know all of that because they ended up moving like cross country and shit." And he clicked up out there. But now I be telling him, like, you don't want to go to prison out here like that because, like, if I wouldn't have like ended up reconnecting with him and I was locked up and he would have showed up on the yard, oh shit, I would have been one of the main ones trying to gun him down, trying to fucking take his win. Because skinheads don't let white bloods or white crips walk the line. So it's like, it don't matter. You could be a white blood or white crip and be putting in hella work for your hood, and you didn't hit the pin, and you didn't have. As soon as you get onto a yard, you didn't have a whole race trying to kill you. And the blacks will throw you under the bus quick as hell. And it's a sad thing because that's who they're putting in all this work for. And the blacks don't care because you're only beneficial to them while you're putting in that work. Now you hit a yard and motherfuckers want to get on you. Now you just became a liability. And I've seen it personally, like where I was on a yard, white crip showed up, and as soon as he hit the block, straight off the bus, showing up there, we pushed up onto the cell, let him know, like, hey, first unlock, this motherfucker better be gone or we're getting rid of him. And blacks didn't want to put in work; they didn't want to get on him, but they were smart enough to tell him, like, hey, you got to go. Sooner 6808. How long did it take you to get to turn your life around? I'm sure at first it was boring when you found the true happiness in living the right way. I'm 45. I had joined Modesto Hardcore in 1999, but prior to that, from like 12 years old, I was already getting caught up in bullshit and drugs, and like the people in my neighborhood, they all ended up running like Northerner and stuff, but I never really got into it because I had an incident where I was funking with a couple of them out in Riverbank, and they jumped me. So at that point, I was like, man, last thing I'm gonna do is join a group that tried to jump me. So I still fucked with everybody in my neighborhood, but I ended up meeting one of the main skinheads from hardcore out of Modesto back in '99, and I ended up getting embraced by them. So from '99 until I got out 5 years ago, and been out the whole time. Shit, 20 years, over 20 years, probably like 30 years. It took me in and out of jails and in and out of prison, and just realizing how it didn't really affect me. It affected my kids and my relationship with my older kids. And when I got out this time, I already had it in my mind that I was going to stay out, because when you're doing little prison terms like 2 years, 3 years and shit like that, it's not enough time for a lot of people for it to actually affect you. Like, yeah, it sucks you be in there and shit, but time in prison goes by so fast that if you're not stuck tripping on what's going on in the streets and shit like that, you don't realize how fast your time is passing. And next thing you know, it has been a year. So doing the 12 years straight this last time, finally I was like, man, you could tell the difference once you start doing like a decade or more. You realize like, okay, man, I've been in here for a minute now. And especially when you're seeing the pictures of your kids growing up over the years, and pictures of your family starting to look older, and you're like, man, and family members start dying and shit like that. And you start realizing like, okay, man, maybe it's time I better switch something up, because the last thing I want to do is be dying in prison. So when I got out the 5 years ago, I had met my lady like 4 days or 5 days after I got out, and I had got a job like the fourth day I was out, because I knew I had to do something with my life, because I wasn't going to rely on family. I wasn't going to get out of prison after being in there so long and then have to turn and ask, hey, can I come live with you? Or, hey, I wasn't about to do all that. So I met my lady like a couple days after I had got out, and then I was working and we started talking and stuff. And I knew that from being locked up and not being that father figure in my kids' lives, that I wanted to be able to have a child that I could actually be there for and have in my life like a father should. And so I had told her that I wanted to have another kid. So at that point, like, I knew once she got pregnant, I was going to do whatever I had to do to make sure that I was never out of that kid's life. Sooner 68. Do you believe you were someone destined for prison, or do you think you could have avoided prison with different life choices? Oh yeah, anybody. You could always. I don't think anybody's destined to prison. I think that situations that happen in someone's life affect them so much that they decide that crime and shit like that, or drugs and stuff like that, is the best option to turn to, which ends up leading you into prison. But as far as like, could I have made avoided prison with different life choices? Yeah, at the time, I don't think so. No, because like I mentioned before, at 12 I was abused, and I let that like affect me to where I ended up doing drugs and involved with the other bullshit, and that was something that had affected me to the point where I let it control my actions, and I let it just kind of run its own course, and then eventually I got to the point where I was over it, and I realized like, damn, I've let this shit ruin my life for too long. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, that's why I can't stand people that like abuse children and shit, because I know from personal experiences, like, that fucks a kid up for life. It ruins them for a long time, and some people aren't strong enough to come back from that shit. What about the people that end up committing suicide over shit like that, or shit? Just, there's all sorts of different shit. But if I think that if certain things wouldn't have happened in my life, then I probably wouldn't have ended up in prison. But I don't know. Who knows? In the end, it really comes down to you yourself. Like, it's you that made those choices. But I think some people are more forced to certain choices than others. Like, if you got both parents that are living there and you're growing up in a stable home and shit like that, like, I think those kids that have more or better chances at having a productive life and shit like that. Whereas homes with like single parents and shit like that, and they're not focused as much on their kids. That has a lot to do with kids ending up in prison and shit like that. Yeah. So, anyways, I was just wanting to see what people wanted to think and what their thoughts were on should gangs have like a retirement age? Like, at what point are you no longer useful to them? Because I don't think like if you're putting in work constantly and then it just comes to the point where you're getting too old and you're starting to become a risk or they don't need you no more, why should you be deemed no good? Why should you end up being classified as a dropout when your whole life you put in work for them? Do they expect you to be fucking 70 years old out there having to do strong arm robberies and shit like that to survive? I think eventually, at some point, everybody in their life grows up, whether they want to admit it or not. And I've met a lot that try to say, oh, yeah, I'm just doing the family thing. Or, but how are you going to say that you're out there in the streets where you're doing the family thing? Like, how you, when you join a gang, you're committing yourself 100% to that gang for the rest of your life. And at some point, you then eventually hit a point in your life where you're like, man, what am I doing? I want to be there to raise my family, my kids. I want to be able to, I want to have something in the bank or something to look forward to when it's time to retire. When you're seeing all these other people not having to work no more and they're able to take care of themselves and go. Big thing with like retirement is a lot of people can't wait till they retire because that's when the time when they get to go travel and be on vacations all the time. You're not going to get to do none of that. How are you going to get to do any of that? What money you actually have put to the side for when you get older? Unless you were like active and working like a job that provides for retirement, 401k and shit like that. You're not gonna have nothing coming when you get older. Sooner said, which phone brand was the best in prison, Samsung or Motorola? Shit, I don't know. I seen Samsungs, Motorola's, Blackberries. It just depends on where you're at and what you're trying to spend on a phone. I know the regular phones like Motorola's and shit, those were going for like $1,000 to $2,000 when I was in there. And thing with that is, where are you gonna hide a big ass phone? There's only a few spots that you can hide it. And when they come in searching for phones, they're gonna find it. Now, the best phones I would say was those little the little domino phones that were like the size of a domino. It was like a little flip phone. Because those ones you could at least have more action in hiding. When I was at Salinas Valley and I had my phone, I had an incident out in the yard. And when the incident happened, they brought me into the block and the cop let me shower to get the pepper spray and shit off. And so I yelled to the tower cop to have my cellie to open my door so my cellie could bring me clothes. And I yelled out on my cellie to bring my phone. And so that fool brought me my phone. And so I was able to, while I was showering, I was on the phone fucking calling all the other prisoners, letting them know what just happened. And when I got done, I gave it back to him. He's like, what do you want me to do with it? Because we both knew I was going to the hole. So I had him stuff it in a big 16-ounce jar of Folgers and then reseal the top real quick. So when I got to the hole, I had my phone. The building cop in the hole was cool. And then I went back to the yard and I had my phone and I ended up going back to the hole again. So I always made sure that I kept a big Folgers jar around to be able to put my cell phone in. But where I fucked up was when last incident when I ended up getting shipped to High Desert. When I got to High Desert, they ran my property through X-ray machine. So when they ran my shit through X-ray machine, they seen a cell phone in the jar of Folgers and had it. Why was I locked up? When I did the 12 years straight, I was locked up for robbery out of Tuolumne County. Tuolumne County has a big group of sharps up there, which is like they try to claim themselves as skinheads, but they're like non-racist, and I don't know. It's just like a weird thing, and I knew about them because I used to ride with this northerner up there, and we would drop off dope and shit, and the sharps would pick it up from the person we dropped off to. So I knew who the dudes were, and then when I was up there one time in Tuolumne, we went up to the lake, and then we went by Tuolumne because I was gonna go by one of my boys' houses, and I seen 3 of them walking, so we pulled up and fucking ended up turning into a robbery. But I ended up getting busted for that. The other times to prison were for guns and shit. Nita said, apply for SSI. Yeah, you apply, you get denied. For SSI and shit like that, you gotta have some sort of work history because they calculate your checks and shit off of how much work history you have, like how much money you put into your retirement and SSI and shit like that. So all these dudes that are running around out on the streets fucking gangbanging and not able to hold a job because they're in and out of jail constantly, when it comes time for your retirement, you're asked out. You ain't gonna have nothing coming. You're not gonna have no SSI. You're not gonna have no retirement. You're not gonna have shit. You ain't still be the same person that you are now, running in and out of jail at 60 years old, still having to run in and out of jail because you don't got shit going with your life. It's like a sad circle. Either they say it's still dead. Well, yeah, it's either in and out of jail, but I know if you're locked up active and you're in a cell and some dude pushes in fucking 65, 67 years old with a fucking walker claiming that he's active, how many people do they sit there and fucking want to have to deal with that shit? I know a lot of youngsters won't. But yeah. Now it'd be different if shit really like that. I was thinking it'd be different if out of like all the crimes you're committing, you're putting money to the side, but still in the end, like you're then reach a point where you're considered a liability to people, regardless of how much work you put in. So I think personally, if somebody's been putting in work constantly in and out of jail, shit, when they hit 45 years old and they're in good standings with their people, they should be able to move on to try to have that family life or have something going for them so they can try to save up a little bit of money before it's too late. Because eventually you're not going to be able to work. And eventually you then hit an age where people won't even want to hire you because just like you'd be a liability to the gangs, you're a liability to their company too at the same time. So it's just a harsh truth. Like they didn't when they started like recruiting people and jumping people in for gangs and shit like that, they didn't think about what they were going to do with these people when they started getting older. Because hold on. Powered by the culture. Why do your group click up with Southerners against brothers? What do you mean by brothers? Brothers like blacks or northerners, or what do you mean? That way I could answer that question. With blacks. I think the reason with it is a lot of these groups have always been like a racist formed off of hate, and I think even if there would be people willing to do that, how many blacks would want to actually click up with? Hold on, let me play this. How many blacks would actually want to click up with a group that was formed by hate against their people? And I know a lot of blacks that are racist themselves, like, and not just towards like other whites, but I've met blacks that are like racist towards other blacks, and it was just like a weird thing. But I got family members that are black. I got a cousin that's black. He comes out here like usually like every other weekend. He'll come out here from Oakland and shit, and he'll stay like 2 days with us, and then he'll bounce back home because he works and shit. But I got a nephew that's half black, but he grew up like whitewashed, so I've never even seen him really with black friends. He's always had like white friends and Mexican friends and stuff like that. But he's in the Army now, and I met other people like blacks around. I met one black out when I was out in Modesto in jail, and he had a swastika and lightning bolts tatted on the back of his head, and he was running with the whites, but he was adopted by a white family when he was young, and that's what he was brought up around. So he didn't see himself as black because he had loved his adopted parents so much and was so thankful for like what they did that they pretty much fucked this kid up. And he had like the same hate that they had, but it was, I don't know, it was just like a weird situation because he didn't mess with the blacks in there. He didn't want nothing to do with them, and I know it was hard for him because a lot of the whites didn't want him around either. But why did your group click up with Southerners against brothers? I don't know. Why don't the Southerners click up with them? Why do only the Northerners click up with them, and then some of the Paisas? All right, so I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna make the kids something to eat real quick. I just wanted to jump on here because that was like a topic that I had in my head that I wanted to discuss and see what people thought on it. So I'd never seen anybody else like really speak on that, on whether or not gangs should have a retirement age. So I'll probably jump in on another live later or see if anybody wants to jump in on one together. That way we can get more conversation out and see what else people want to talk about. But yeah, I hit the little achievement, 600 subscribers. Well, let me pull this up. I will show you guys. And let's see. That's why I did that little the short post, showing people and stuff. That way I could thank everybody for subscribing and the views and stuff. So like the overview, it's got like 70,000 views. Oops, 70,000 views now, and 619 subscribers. So without you guys, you guys are the ones that end up keeping the channel alive. I just do it more. I do it more for, I just like coming out here to talk and see what people are doing and call people on their bullshit sometimes when I know that they're lying and shit like that. Whereas these other people are doing it simply for the money and entertainment. So, yeah, I'll see if I can get anybody to come on. Call around, see who wants to jump in. Shit, even anybody in here, you guys one of you guys want to speak on something or whatever, let me know. I'll send you the link. You can jump in on real quick on a live or whatever. We can do a little discussion, see what type of thoughts you have or anything like that. All right, Sooner 6808. See you in the next one. Yeah, I'll probably jump in later on another one. You guys all have a good night. I'll probably be back on in a little while.